that we don't have a ton of time with Pragya, but she is one of the most exciting people here for me as someone who's covering AI, covering India. And given that we only have 15 minutes, you can see her amazing bio, her resume, all the things she's accomplished on the website. But I think we should just jump straight into questions because I think all of you are wondering, what is OpenAI doing in India? Pragya, as the first hire in India for OpenAI and first employee, what is OpenAI doing in India and what is your role?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, and sorry about being late. I know the standard fallback for anything when you're late in Delhi is traffic, but this was honestly the traffic situation. So thank you for really being patient, and thank you for having me on this wonderful platform to talk about OpenAI. I joined OpenAI last year sometime in end April, and it's just been a very exciting journey since then. I think reading the newspaper headlines about OpenAI, the tendency is to think that we're a very large company, and we often get compared in the same line with the Google and Metas and other really large platforms. And, there are, of course, advantages to that. But honestly, just intrinsically, we're a very startup-y company. We're just a 2.5-year-old product company. And so we're really figuring out many things which most of the other companies who I spoke about have already figured out and have been in this space for 10, 15 years, or actually really guiding the path on many of the spaces like enterprise and consumer, while we're still actually trying to figure all of those things out. So, the real idea of having somebody like me in India is that, the mission that OpenAI has, which is, artificial general intelligence for all of humanity, and with, a very large part of that humanity obviously being in India, it's very important that we think about India as pivotal to our success globally. And so therefore we want to try and see how can we work in a collaborative way with the ecosystem to make sure that whatever we're building in terms of model intelligence or features that we have been launching at a really fast pace, as you would have noticed, starting in December. And so therefore just making sure that there is the local context. We're also being able to make sure that when we work and collaborate with the ecosystem in India, that we understand the multilingual diversity, the cultural diversity, and all of those pieces become very much part of what we are trying to put out in terms of model intelligence and also features and whatever else we launch. So India is really, really important. And I think, we're in the beginning of 2025. Just this week is, I think, going to be extremely critical to how we think about OpenAI and our plans here. And I think you will see a lot of excitement coming out of OpenAI, specifically keeping India in mind.
I want to double click a little bit more on what is so unique about India. You have both Bharat and India, and there's, at the convergence of that, you also have a lot of really interesting features that might accelerate AI adoption in India. That's multimodality. I think I remember there was a conversation where you talked a lot about unlocking voice. How do you think about OpenAI's, what can it unlock on a capability and feature front specific and unique to the India population?
Yeah, I mean, I've been now in this tech policy world for about 10 years, and every time, thinking out of SF or out of India, you think that this is the feature that's going to do really well in India, and people start to use our product. And the amount of ingenuity that gets unlocked with how our users and our developers and our startups use these global products is just very, very unique and always very insightful. And so we've seen some of that coming out of coming for OpenAI models as well. And I think just multimodality is going to certainly change and reduce the gap on democratizing the access to knowledge. And we're seeing that. I can talk about education specifically. Yeah. We have a nonprofit who is supporting, who use our models extensively. They are Rocket Learning, and they're actually looking at rural India, tier 2, tier 3. They've been able to, in the health sector, actually be able to empower 200,000 Anganwadi workers using our models, and then also reach out to about 3 million teachers and students, or in that range, to actually talk about, how can education be available on just your phone, and how can you really talk about personalization. The earlier panel had a question around how can you make education more affordable, and I truly believe that AI can do that, because you will have the education or your buddy or your AI tutor will meet you where you are in your learning journey. And that's really our goal, that can we really make sure that all students and parents across the world have access to education and really high quality education for the learning journey to meet you where you are. And Rocket Learning, like I said, is one example. We have Duolingo, which globally is actually really helping people learn languages, and also Khanmigo, which is again a global example, but of course specifically in India as well. They're using the AI tutor and the AI assistant that they've built. And again, the idea is that can we nudge students to have that learning experience to be very fulfilled. We don't want folks to use this as a copying kind of tool where you just sort of say, can you write this essay or dissertation for me? But actually allow and push people to make sure that the tools that they have in their hands can be the best friend or be the best buddy, or allow them to really critically think on what is the best way to use this tool to help them in their learning process.
Yeah. I mean, the promise of a 24/7 tutor. And it's amazing to see that you all are embedding AI in everything from India education, India agriculture, healthcare. As you think about just addressing all the people in the India population, how are you thinking about AI reaching all layers of society?
Yeah, one of the recent launches we had was ChatGPT on WhatsApp. And with about 400, 500 million users in India that WhatsApp has, my earlier employer, and I feel very passionate about WhatsApp. I was their first employee in India as well, so did a bunch of things there which were incredible. And so now that we have ChatGPT available on WhatsApp, we want to actually make sure that people feel that it's really accessible and we are meeting them where they are, which is 500 million users on that one platform. So can we allow for people to have an early experience what AI feels like? Because, often when I talk about AI models, most people are like, oh no, that's very complicated, I can't use it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's actually the easiest thing because it's the most natural way for us to have a conversation. It's rare that we look down and type for anything. Human interactions happen like this, where I talk to you, I look at you, you read my body language, you also get a sense of my voice. And I think AI is going to help us make those interactions be more authentic and real in that sense. And so I think just with that, we're trying to sort of bridge that gap and making it far more easy and accessible when it comes to agriculture, healthcare, and also education. In agriculture, again, we have a nonprofit called Digital Green who are using our models in the back end, and they have seen close to 35% increase in farmer income just by using the farmer chat advisory. And they've been able to reach to about 10 to 15 million farmers across India and Africa. And they actually started in India, in UP and Bihar. And this is the uniqueness of India. They were able to solve for UP and Bihar, just two states, and only with sort of running or navigating through the complexities of two states, they were able to replicate this model for Africa and take it, and it worked really well just as it is. Because, if you can solve for India, I feel like you can solve for the world in many situations. And so, this was a prime example. Similarly, in healthcare, there's a lot of work happening in transcription. Very often you have ASHA workers who are the frontline workers, and they become sort of the point of contact, or in many ways the anchor in a lot of the rural communities for things around health and education and many other things that they are responsible for. And so, with so much on their plate, often when they have to do data entry, some of it gets either lost or they're not able to update the information in real time. And so transcription, again, is emerging as a massive use case just because of the multimodality that AI lends itself to. So I think, these are examples that we're seeing already happening with ChatGPT launching in November 2022. So we're still very, very early in our journey. And yet in India, we're seeing massive, massive adoption. And we're seeing a massive uptake as well. Globally, we have about 300 million plus users. And India is actually our second largest user base in terms of absolute numbers. So we're seeing incredible amount of adoption and a lot of positivity around embracing AI.
Yeah, I love how optimistic the Indian population is around AI. It can't be said about the same in the U.S. among the educator community. And so I love what you said about multimodality and what that unlocks around human-computer interaction. This idea that we are now, for the first time ever, able to talk and bring visual context, audio context, transcription to our devices, which historically we've been limited to chatting, right? So I think that's going to unlock, just the step changes is so exciting. As you think about what's coming next, a lot of people have been talking about reasoning models. You all just launched a really cool demo around deep research. I'm so excited about that one if you've been following all the activity around AI agents. For the people here, what are you most excited around, looking forward to around the technology? Is there some aspect or capability or feature that people should watch out for, or one that you're most excited by?
Yeah, that's another thing with AI moving so quickly. I think just people like me who, breathe it, live it every day, find it difficult to keep up to in date with everything that different platforms are releasing almost every second day. And so I totally understand the challenge where very often I walk into many rooms and, people raise their hand and say, this is a big challenge with AI. And I'm like, yeah, we just solved it last week. And so like it's often just staying up to date. And I think, therefore, that's one. And second, I will, really urge folks in the room to experiment if you haven't already, with our tools. And I think that's similar for even the folks in the education world, right? I think the only way you can make sure that you're using these tools to help you and support you is you experiment and you embrace what that brings and what are the new features that come. I think the real unlock is really going to be, of course, there is the regular use cases, use 4.0, 4.0 mini, for summarization, for, anything that you need to do routinely. And, we're seeing that happen with a lot of the teachers and professors as well in the US and in India, where a lot of the admin stuff, which takes a lot of toll and time away, AI can help you build in a lot of efficiencies, and then people can really focus on the core of what they want to, which is the real thinking, the real planning, and the teaching, and all of those pieces where AI can come in and help you. And I think the second is really in the strategic spaces, right? So research, I think the most recent launch we had day before yesterday, or I think yesterday, is really, I think, from an India context, going to be very, very pivotal. And I feel that because, again, we have complex problems around climate change, food security, also, economic empowerment and development, and what is going to happen when our, young demographic who are joining the workforce every single day, how are we actually going to use that as an advantage as opposed to it really being counterproductive? And if we don't have some of these things in place, which AI can help us with, because often it can do the past analysis, do some amount of, predictive analysis for you, and it gives you some range on what you should be doing or what steps you should be taking, what policy measures you can be taking. And we're trying to work with a lot of the government, I would say organizations who are at the spear of making these decisions and setting these policy roadmaps for India to say, how can AI models really help with that? And so I think that is the really, really big strategic opportunity. And then, of course, there is the regular routine stuff where it can help you unlock efficiency, productivity in your day-to-day work. With, I think, over the years, we will see that will again add a lot to the GDP contribution, and specifically for the goal that India has around, being the third largest economy in the world. And I think all of these small things will certainly add up to that.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's almost like we're seeing now for founders and builders, of which we have a lot in this room. There's almost now so much optionality around how you can leverage these models, right? I think, as you mentioned, all the massive unlocks around reasoning, the cost of intelligence going down, being able to have these complex, intelligent agents, but also if you just want to automate around efficiency, there's a ton of models available. So for the founders and the builders in the room, do you have any advice for particularly those tackling building solutions around AI for education or AI just in India? Do you have any advice for those builders and founders?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's early days to give any advice, but I think I can share what I have been seeing in the last 6-7 months, meeting founders, across India who are building using our models or even otherwise. And I would say often what I see is a lot of replication where people tend to go to solve the same problem. So if you talk about agriculture, everyone wants to build a chatbot. If you want to talk about education, everyone is wanting to build an AI tutor. I would just urge founders and startups to think a little bit more deeply. And I'm sure there are a few who are already doing that, but I think this is just what I have noticed, that can we think just one level down and try and solve a very, very specific challenge, and then see how and which AI models and what architecture will help you solve that, at the lowest price and with highest efficiency. and also making sure that the area and the geography that you're in, you're really sort of solving for that specific target audience. I think that's the one theme that I have noticed across. And I think often, many founders come to us and they want to ask very general questions. I think since we are such a strapped and such a constrained company in terms of resources, I think the intention is to help. We want to be able to provide API credits. We want to be able to provide mentoring and technical solutions. But it'll be great if folks can actually do the work of exploring the models and then coming up with specific problems that we can help them solve, because we want to be able to do that and we want to be able to support the ecosystem. So I think that's really more help and just urging founders to think a little bit more differently. But I think there are many problems and there are many use cases, and there are also forums where OpenAI constantly interacts with developers and startup founders, whether that's putting out videos on our YouTube channels, or we have something called the OpenAI Forum. You can go and look it up, and we have actually our leading researchers and software engineers often talking about what we are seeing globally, what we are seeing in India, how our models can be used to solve specific use cases, or what are the best practices we are seeing around the world where others are able to solve something which maybe a startup founder in India is looking to solve. And I think that would be just cross-knowledge transfer in many ways, which could help them. So I think just some of these themes and some of these actions that that folks can take. But I think there's a deep intent from OpenAI's side to support the Indian ecosystem. So if there's anything, if there are questions, or if there's any feedback about our models, we would love to look at that. And I think one last thing, which is, we are wanting to support multilingual to a very large extent. The evals on multilinguals always show that OpenAI 4.0 is always on the top. And we understand that, but I'm also an Indian first. And often when I talk to the model in Hindi, or I know a little bit of Tamil, it just doesn't necessarily perform as I would like it to. So we are constantly working on that. And I know that there are complaints around, how can our models be better on multilingual? And I just want to assure you that that's something that we're constantly thinking about. And lastly is just cost, right? Often folks come to us and say, OpenAI models and APIs are really, really expensive. And so just really want to say that in the last about year already, there has been a close to a 30x to a 35x lower cost, both on multilingual tokenizers and just general API pings. And so that's only going to go down. And so just bear with us and be patient. And we would really want to support and work with you.
Yeah. I love that you all are providing the infrastructure for the cars, and you are the highway, and the cars of all these startups are eventually going to build and run on top of it. And so I know we're way over time, and I'm buzzing with questions and thoughts. I'm sure many will stop you as you're heading out. But we are so appreciative of what you're doing for the ecosystem, your role as a liaison for the India AI community, and just broadly globally what you're doing for the space. So thank you so much for the conversation today, and we're excited for what you'll do with OpenAI in next years or so.
Thank you so much for having me. And follow us. There's going to be stuff coming out just within this week, so it's going to be exciting times. Thank you.
Exciting.
Thank you so much.